Hello everybody, this is Dr. Javed Hassan. I am an assistant professor in the Department of Biotechnology at Central University of South Bihar, Gaya, and this is my email ID. So if you have any query about my presentation today or anything regarding career, if you want some information, you can email me and I'll try to try to answer your questions. So today I have prepared a small presentation on the topic vaccines. I teach a part of immunology in our MSc in biotechnology course, and there I teach these vaccines. And this presentation is a part of this Open Educational Resources (OER). So these open educational resources are freely available to be used by anybody. There is no licensing needed in this, so you can use this presentation for your teaching purpose, and if you wish you can attribute my name and designation and those details in your wherever you use this presentation. So this is an open educational resources. So now we'll talk about this vaccines a little bit, and if you remember, nowadays this coronavirus disease is everywhere in the world, and the whole world is looking for the vaccines for this COVID-19, and we do not have the vaccines for these yet. So there are many diseases for which we have the vaccines available, and it takes time to actually to get a vaccine, because there are so many stages before it comes to the market. The research is still going on, and we hope that soon, maybe within 1 year, we will get a vaccine for this coronavirus, and then maybe this disease will be contained in a better way. So let's hope for the best. So we'll start with the vaccines, and if you talk about the vaccines are nothing but the same antigenic substance. I mean, if you are giving vaccine to somebody, it will be against some disease, and that disease will be caused by some microbes, for example. So you actually give that microbe only into the healthy person's body, and that actually generates antibodies in the body, in the body of that person, and that antibodies and are responsible for the immunization, or for the immunity of that person to that particular disease. So this is nothing but the antigenic substance. The vaccine is called you have heard this, precaution is better than the cure. So cure is like, if you have got already the diseases, then you get the drugs and all to treat those diseases, but vaccines are usually given before disease actually occurs in the body. So it's called like precaution before the disease. So this is very important, and it protects you from the future diseases. And so these vaccines are antigenic substances, so they are the causative agents of a disease, or a synthetic substitute it could be. So sometimes you give, we'll see the different types of vaccines, then you will understand it better. So sometimes you give that microbes as such, or weaken that, and then you introduce into the body, or sometimes you have a synthetic substitute of that. So these are the things which give as vaccines, and this is by the production of the antibodies. And this vaccine or vaccination term came from this word variola vaccini, and this was causing the smallpox in the cow. And this term vaccine and vaccination was devised by Edward Jenner in 1798 to denote cowpox. And this Edward Jenner has done a lot of important work in the field of immunology. He was the one who actually developed the first vaccine in 1796-98 for smallpox. So he was a kind of pioneer in the field of vaccine. And then the Louis Pasteur came, and he developed vaccines for chicken cholera and anthrax, and those were called second generation of vaccines. This was in 1880s. And then if you remember about this polio vaccine, recently or nowadays also, this polio drop campaign is going on in India, where you give some drops of polio vaccine orally to the small children. And this polio vaccine was first developed by Jonas Edward Salk in 1952, and this is Jonas Salk. So he did not patent it, and that's why it's freely available and it's so cheap. I mean, there are two forms of this polio vaccines available: the oral form and also the intravenous form, which you give by injection. So that is also available. So both the things are given nowadays. And there are different types of vaccines. We'll go a little bit about those types of vaccines. The first is the killed vaccine. As the name suggests, here the microbes are actually killed, and this killing could be done by different methods like the chemical treatments or heat or radioactivity or antibiotics or formalin. So by using these things, you actually kill the microbe or the pathogenic to make it non-pathogenic, and then you give it to the person. And here you can see the examples of these killed vaccines: influenza vaccines, anthrax, cholera. These are the different vaccines which are the types of killed type of vaccines. Here you will see this is the microbe or the microorganism causing the disease, and these surface markers, these structures usually are proteins, and these proteins are coded by some gene on this genetic material of this microbe. So there will be genes on this, and those genes will be expressing these protein molecules which are on the surface of the microbe. And you can see these are the different types of structures because these are proteins, and they can make many different types of structures on the surface. These are called epitopes in immunology. So these are the actually the surface markers or the proteins, these epitopes. These are the things which interact with the antibodies, and the part of that antibody which interacts with these epitopes are called paratopes. So there is an interaction between epitope and a paratope of an antibody, and this is the kill type of vaccine, so we'll come about it later. And then the second type of vaccine is called attenuated vaccines or a modified live vaccine. Now here you can say attenuated, you can say like it's kind of weakened form of that pathogen, or a modified live means it's live but there is some kind of modification in that. And one modification could be the mutation. You may mutate that or modify that pathogen to such that its tropism is changed, where it will go into the body and affect the place or the organ where it is going to affect. You mutate that so that it doesn't reach to that place and it reaches somewhere else, so it doesn't have that dangerous effect in that. So this could be one of the ways you can modify the or attenuate these microbes. And this is very durable, this type of vaccine, but this could be given only in the healthy adults because this is not killed vaccine, this is just weakened or modified and it's live, and it can always come back, or maybe the mutation is they can again mutate itself and rectify that mutation, and it can again multiply in the body. So whenever this attenuated or modified live vaccine is given, the doctor usually asks the person if he has some kind of fever or some kind of disease earlier. So in that case he doesn't usually give this vaccine because it's given in the healthy adults, because if you are already sick or if you are having a fever, that means you are already into some disease, so your immune system is already busy, or your immune system is already involved in fighting some kind of disease. So in that case it's not suggested to give this kind of vaccine. So first doctors wait or give some medications to make you healthy first, and then they will give you this kind of vaccine. And there are certain examples here given of these kinds of vaccines. This BCG is one of those vaccine, this BCG, and this is the full form of that. This is given against tuberculosis, and this is one of the vaccines, BCG vaccines, which is given very early after childbirth. So in India it's a kind of usual procedure that every child who gets birth in India, they are given this BCG vaccine in the first days itself. And nowadays this is also in news because it has been found that this BCG vaccine treated person or whoever who has got this BCG vaccine, they are having some kind of immunized response to the coronavirus. So this is also a research issue. It's not conclusive, so research is still going on. Maybe this BCG vaccine is causing some kind of immunity in our body, and that is affecting this coronavirus infection spread also. So there is another kind of this modified vaccine, this against the plague. Yersinia pestis causes this plague. So for this also we have this live attenuated kind of vaccine available. So if you say about the next type of the vaccine, it's called subunit vaccine or cellular vaccines. So these are the purified components. If you remember, these were the surface markers. If I go back, you can see these are the surface markers. So here you actually the whole organism is given, the pathogen is given, but in killed form. So this is the genetic material. You can see this color is kind of killed. This is the live genetic material, and these are the surface markers. So here you give only the surface markers, not the whole pathogen itself. So here you give only these epitopes. So you can actually extract these epitopes from the pathogen itself, or you can synthesize these proteins also, and then you can give this to the person. This is called, that's why it's called subunit or cellular fractions. So there are certain examples of this. These are the given the examples of this type of vaccine. So this is given into the body, and this interacts with the antibodies. These are the antibodies. You see, these are the interaction. This is the pathogen. So this is the epitope. So against this epitope, this antibody is functioning, or that is binding to that. So in that case, these are the cellular fractions which are given, and this is quite safe because you don't give the whole pathogen, even not in the killed form, because sometimes when you kill that by heat or some by chemicals, the surface markers or the structure of these might get affected, and it will not be exactly the same as in the live case. And if you give the live attenuated vaccine, there is a risk of the disease also. So you can give that only in the healthy person, so there is some kind of risk in that. So here you don't give the whole pathogen, but only the surface marker. So this is quite safe actually. So this is one type of that vaccine which is given. And then if you see the next type, that is called toxoid vaccines. There are certain microbes which actually, when go into the body, they secrete some kind of toxin, and that toxin is actually the problem for the body, not the microbe itself, but the toxin it produces. So in that case, what we give is the antibodies, or of the antibodies against that toxin that is produced, so to neutralize the effect of that toxin. The same thing we give in the case of antivenoms, when for the snake bites. So the snake bites, the snake injects some kind of poison, maybe some neurotoxins into the body. So the antivenoms are given. These antivenoms are nothing but the antibodies against those venoms, the toxins which are given. So these are called toxoid vaccines, just to inactivate these toxic compounds which are produced in the body, or injected by from outside, like from a snake. And there are certain vaccines, toxoid vaccines, available for the dogs also, for the rattlesnake bites. And next is the conjugate vaccine. This conjugate vaccine, as the name suggests, is the conjugation of protein and carbohydrate, because there are certain pathogens where the surface markers or those epitopes are not the proteins. Proteins are very highly immunogenic, but these polysaccharides which are on the surface of certain pathogens, these polysaccharides are not that strong immunogens. So in that case, to increase the immunogenicity, we conjugate these polysaccharides with some proteins. So that is called to increase the immunogenicity. So that is the purpose of this conjugate vaccines, and this is the type of that conjugate vaccine. And now comes the vaccines of the future, and here we will talk about DNA vaccines. So this DNA vaccines is nothing but, if I Go to this slide. Here you can say this is the pathogen, this is the genetic material, and here you can see this is the gene of interest, or the gene that will cause that surface marker proteins to be expressed. So you take out that gene and you insert that into a plasmid. You cut the plasmid by restriction enzyme, and then you insert or you ligate this part of the gene of interest into that plasmid, and now you can give that plasmid, you can inject that plasmid directly into the muscle cells where it gets expressed in the muscle cells, or you can use the gene gun to inject that into the muscle cells. And now what is this gene gun? This gene gun looks like this. So this gene gun actually uses a pulse of low pressure helium gas, which is an inert gas, to deliver gold particles, and these gold particles are coated with this construct. So these gold particles are very small particles and are inert, they don't react in the body. So these are coated with this DNA or RNA, and these with this gene gun that is fired into the muscle cells, and after entering into the muscle cells it gets expressed. So now in this case you can say like you have inserted the gene actually inside the body, not the surface markers or proteins or pathogens. So this gene is kind of like factory, so it can continuously produce the continuously produce different types of surface antigens, and the body will get immunized. So this is called DNA vaccine. Here you can say this DNA vaccine. So the DNA vaccines, there are certain HIV-1 and hepatitis B types of diseases. For these DNA vaccines are into research nowadays. So these are called vaccines of the future because these are not into the market right now, but the research is still going on. So let's hope we someday in near future we get these types of vaccines. So this is called DNA vaccine. And then we come to the vector vaccines. These are called vector vaccines because that plasmid is also a kind of vector. Another vector what we can use is a virus or a bacteria, and these viruses and bacteria are usually harmless for the human body. They don't cause disease in the human body. So we pick those kinds of viruses and bacteria which do not infect our body. So the same procedure is done here. So this is the pathogen, these are the surface markers, and this is the gene of interest that codes these surface markers. So this gene of interest is either inserted into the viral genome, and that virus infects the human cell, and inside the human cells it produces these surface markers through the MHC class 1 molecule, because these are the endogenous antigens, because these are they produce inside the cells, and so it will be processed by the MHC1, and this MHC1 induces the immune response in the human body. So this is through the virus, and this could be a vaccinia virus. Vaccinia virus is safe to the body, human body. It doesn't affect, it doesn't cause the disease to the human body, and it can accommodate a large amounts of DNA, a large sequence of this DNA you can insert in this viral genome. So vaccinia virus is one very common virus which is used for these vector vaccines. Another could be this bacterial vaccines, where you insert this into the plasmid of the bacteria, plasmid of this bacteria, and then two things could happen. Either this gene of the interest, because these are the surface, these are expressed on the surface, so this will be on the surface of that. Okay, so this is expressed, and this protein, when it expresses, it goes to the surface of the bacteria because it's a surface markers. It goes to the surface, and now the same bacteria could be could induce the immune response into the body. Or the thing you can do is you can express it into the petri dish, and you can extract these surfaces, these surface markers, and then again, like subunit vaccines, you give these surface markers into the body, into the human body, and then the immune response is there. So these two approaches are being used for the vector vaccines. These are types of vector vaccines. And another could be these vector vaccines, or this gene of interest could be introduced into the plants also. And when you introduce into the plants, they are called genetically modified plants or GM plants. So we'll see by this example. If you have that gene, okay, gene of interest, so you insert that into an agrobacterium, And Agrobacterium is a bacteria, Agrobacterium tumefaciens. So Agrobacterium, this infects the plants. So if you have the cut leaves of this, suppose this plant, this is a potato plant, so potato plant leaves are taken, they are cut into pieces, and if you infect these bacteria, if you infect these plant leaf segments of these potato plants with this bacteria, it goes, this bacterobacterium, and into the plant cells, and there they are expressed. So this gene of interest will be expressed in these leaves, and from these leaves you can actually get the whole plant. And so in this potato also you will have these genes expressed, these surface markers will be expressed in this potato, and if you eat this potato you will get immunized through the oral system, because there are oral forms of vaccines also, like polio vaccine. So you can take the vaccine through injection or through the oral way also. So this is this oral form of vaccine, and this is called edible vaccine, that is called edible vaccine. So these edible vaccines, so these GM plants, if you eat that, you get you get immunized. And here the IgA response is there. This is a class of immunoglobulin out of 5 classes. There is one class called IgA class, and this is the secretory type of immunoglobulin antibodies, and this is secreted from the mucosa in our abdomen, and this mediates this immune response. So this edible vaccines, when you take anything from the any vaccine through the oral way, then this IgA mediated response is there. One Vivotif for typhoid vaccine. This Vivotif is in research. People are doing some research on this. So soon maybe these edible vaccines will be available in the market, and these edible vaccines are very very important, very good for the developing countries, especially developing countries like India, where you have the problems of keeping vaccines refrigerated for a long time. You see these polio vaccines, these persons who are carrying these polio vaccines, they take these small ice boxes, and in that they keep these vaccines. So most of these vaccines need to be kept refrigerated. So even if you go into the some medical shop and you ask for some vaccine, like tetanus vaccine, Tetvac, then they will open the refrigerator and give it to you. So most of the time these vaccines are kept refrigerated. But in the countries like India, where there is problem of electricity also, many where there are not refrigeration facilities everywhere, and ice can melt, you cannot keep it in ice for a long time, that the temperature also varies for the ice, and transportation in refrigerated condition is a problem in India. For long distance you cannot take that vaccine. So these are certain problems. So for these edible vaccines, you don't need to keep it refrigerated, it's not essential. So this is very important benefit of using this edible vaccine in case of developing countries, that you don't need to keep it refrigerated. And sterilized condition is also not mandatory to keep these edible vaccines. So this is sterility is also not that important in case of this, and like other vaccines. So this is also very a good point for the developing countries. So these edible vaccines, there are certain vaccines for hepatitis B. In USA from 1919 it was under testing, so this might come into the market soon, let's hope. And this is we have already discussed. And these edible vaccines are expressed in potatoes, tomatoes, and banana. Banana is a fruit. These are the vegetables. So usually it's good that if you express these or if you make these edible vaccines into the fruits or vegetables which could be eaten raw, because if you cook that, then cooking or increased temperature might affect the structure of the surface antigens which are produced in these plants, in these fruits and vegetables. So it's good to have it expressed in certain fruits and vegetables where you can eat it raw. Fruits are very good for in that case. Fruits can be eaten raw. Certain vegetables could be eaten raw, but potato certainly you cannot eat raw. but still. And one more problem is that the dosage, how much potato or tomato or banana a person should eat to get immunized, because the person's immune system varies person to person, and also that the digestive system varies. So digestive juices, whatever is secreting into the body, so those all things are the things which are people are doing research on these things. The dosage also is under investigation. So these things are there, but that's why we call it the vaccines for the future. And these vaccines, the edible vaccines, actually could be used to immunize the animals also, not only the human beings, because these animals also, they feed on these plants, and these plants may be expressing these GM plants, expressing these those surface antigens which cause diseases into certain animals. So if these animals, they eat or they feed on these plants, they will also get immunized. So these edible vaccines could be made for the animals also, as well as for the humans. And if we talk about some history of the vaccines, if you see this polio disease, polio, nowadays we don't find any polio patient in India also. Sometimes back you could see some people, but if you see like in 1950s or something, there were these 1,000 cases, number of cases, thousands. This is this axis, this is the year. So in this year you can say there were these many patients of the polio, and when then the first phase of vaccine was introduced, the number drastically came down, and then again little up, and then again second phase of vaccine, now we don't have any patient. So by introduction of the vaccine, you actually reduce the number of patients to a zero level of for polio. The same happened with the measles. If you see, the number of patients were kind of fluctuating, but when the vaccine was introduced here, the numbers came down, and now you can see like there is almost no patient of the measles. And the same happened with the rubella. If you see this number in the 1970s around, the number came down after the introduction of the vaccine, and now almost zero. The same happened with the mumps. Here you see this number, then again little bit of fluctuation, and then after that it came down to zero. The same thing we can think about this coronavirus also. If the some vaccine will be coming, and then that will reduce this coronavirus disease also to zero. So that's how that's why we hope that this coronavirus soon will have this vaccine for the coronavirus soon, and then that will be very much helpful for treating this coronavirus, and that is very we are very hopeful for that. And maybe within 1 year we will have some kind of vaccine, because the whole world is looking for it. There are many places in different countries, the work or the research is going on for the development of vaccines, and they have started clinical trials directly into the humans. So there are many different and special things are being done to get the vaccines faster for this coronavirus, because this is very very infectious. We see the data every day, the cases are increasing, especially in India. So we hope soon we will have the vaccine for the coronavirus. So this was the about the vaccine I wanted to talk today. This was part of that OER, and you can use these slides for teaching vaccines or understanding vaccines little bit. So with that I would end here, and with this I'm signing off, Dr. Javed Hassan. Have a nice day. Thank you. Thanks for listening to me. And if you have any query, any question regarding these vaccines or anything else, you can just email me at this email ID. Thank you. Thanks a lot.